Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is a asymmetrical 4v1 multiplayer experience where the players can team up to face an AI ghost. A player ghost can take on 4 AI bots or a mixture of the two. Taking control of a character created Ghostbuster, which shockingly enough has a lot of features, especially when it comes to body morphing and general facial shaping. Players will be introduced to the returning Winston Zeddemore and Ray Stantz, played by Eddie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd respectively, as Eddie has reopened the firehouse and restarted the Ghostbusters team, and of course, you're hopefully one of the main members of that newfound Ghostbusters team. Now, the duty of a Ghostbuster in this game is to take on a job in one of the 5 maps that are currently available in the game. You can do so by playing alongside friends, inviting people, or just doing quick play and joining with a group of people, either with bots or without. That will allow for you to go into this building and hopefully capture a ghost. But there are quite a few different things that you have to take care of as well. One of those main things is the rifts. At the start of the map, 3 rifts are located somewhere on the map, and the Ghostbusters have to go about destroying these rifts. Another objective is to maintain civilian peace. Now, civilians will be scattered around the map, whatever job you're taking on, and if they get too scared, they will flee. This will increase the overall haunting meter, which is what the ghost is trying to fill up, because if that gets to 100%, you have lost the game as a Ghostbuster. Now, one of the more interesting aspects about playing as a Ghostbuster is the equipment. Every Ghostbuster has 4 pieces of main equipment: the particle thrower, the PKE meter, the proton pack, and the ghost trap. But the interesting aspect is the fact that every piece of gear actually levels up. So for example, if you utilize the PKE meter to not only hunt down ghosts and find out their location, but also stun them out of their hiding spot, it will level up faster than, say, the ghost trap if you do not remember to open up your trap after you've thrown it down during a very hectic moment where you're utilizing the particle thrower to tether a ghost to pull them into the trap. Now, with the leveling up of the gear, opens up different equipable items. So depending on what you equip, you may find some positives or negatives for what you do put onto that piece of upgraded gear. For example, the particle thrower has items that, if you equip it, may make the tether more effective and stronger and have longer reach, but it may take a lot longer to actually form the tether after you fire it compared to the initial item that you had equipped on your particle thrower. The proton pack may have an item that allows for the overheating of the particle thrower to be reduced, but it may take once again longer for that reduction time to cool down. So you have to weigh your pros and cons when it comes to equipping certain items to your gear. You will also get secondary items that are limited in nature but can be equipped and resupplied via the cart that you bring in during the opening cinematic at the beginning of a job. Now, when it comes to playing as the ghost, things get a little bit more complicated. And one of the main reasons for that is the fact that, unlike many other asymmetrical games where you're taking control of a brooding adversary, the point of being a ghost in the Ghostbusters game is to stay away from the Ghostbusters and not fight them. One of the key things that a Ghostbuster must also do, as noted, is to try to maintain civilian peace. And if the peace of the civilians is not maintained, they will flee and run away, which will increase the haunting meter. Ghosts, their main objective is to increase the haunting meter, and scaring civilians is one of the best ways of doing so. Ghosts have PKE energy, which acts like a stamina system, and no matter what you do, be it attacks or moving around or scaring civilians, and of course using the dash to slime Ghostbusters, PKE energy drains fairly quickly. So to take advantage of not only scaring civilians but also refilling that PKE energy is by possessing certain objects. Now, you can also use that energy to haunt objects, which is a great distraction tool because Ghostbusters will assume that that is actually you possessing a certain object like a lamp or a trolley, and instead you can be able to get away and find a better hiding space and refill your energy. Now there are 5 different types of ghosts, with some subcategories that are associated with leveling up that specific ghost. There is an overall profile leveling system, and as you level up your general profile, it will not only unlock customizable items for your Ghostbuster, but also unlock different ghosts themselves. Now, it's only playing with those ghosts that you're able to level up those ghosts and unlock the subcategories associated with those ghosts. For example, the Ectoplast's highest level unlocks Slimer. And like the equipment the Ghostbusters have, depending on what variation that you pick of that specific ghost class, they may have not different base stats, but different abilities and general differences in terms of their passive skills. Like certain classes may be more effective in breaking free of a tether, while others may have a wider fear range, so when that ghost scares someone, it actually spreads out a lot further than they would if they were scaring with a different type of ghost. Every ghost also has an ultimate attack that has a significant cooldown time unless you're captured and you have to respawn via a rift, which automatically refills the meters of every ability the ghost has. Now when it comes to the ultimate attack as well, and this is a big flaw to me, is not only the wind up for the ultimate attack, but also the ability for the Ghostbusters to stun the ghost and essentially cancel out the ultimate attack. So you have to be very mindful of when utilizing the ultimate attack. It doesn't have any type of armor. It's something that you would think would be able to go through a lot more than it does, but it does not, and it will cancel out, and then there's a potential chance that you will not be able to utilize it again in that round. As noted, when playing as a Ghostbuster, one of the main objectives is to destroy the 3 rifts that are located on the map. These act as the ghost's respawn points. So if there are no more rifts available, then once that ghost is trapped, that means game over for the ghost. The ghost can't actually move those rifts around, but upon doing so will actually reveal that rift instead of it staying hidden as a relic statue. There are a few technical issues when it comes to the gameplay on both ends. The general clunkiness and movement of the Ghostbusters can be very haphazard, and when you're trying to shoot your tether, it may be hard to judge exactly the distance between you and the ghost. So sometimes you may be firing the tether and thinking you're hitting, and lo and behold, you're like 3 inches away, and it does make a huge difference. On the ghost end of the spectrum, one of the biggest issues I noticed was possessions. With possessions being associated with the same button as certain other actions like sabotaging a proton pack, so when a Ghostbuster tries to utilize it, they actually have to fix it before they can. If you're near an object that can be possessed, the game will usually automatically go for the possession instead of what you intend to do, which is sabotage the proton pack. I think from a gameplay balancing perspective, there are a few issues as well. Specifically, the quick cooldown timer on the stun ability that is associated with the PKE meter that can stun a ghost player incredibly fast. And if you have all 4 characters rotating, it doesn't take long for a ghost player to get stunned into oblivion and captured without warning. Probably the biggest gameplay issue when it comes to playing as a ghost has to be the mini game to avoid being tethered or being trapped inside the ghost trap. It boils down to tapping one of the buttons in the case of the PlayStation 5. When you're tethered, tapping the square button. When you're trying to stop the ghost trap, tapping the circle button. In regards to the latter, you also have to move the analog stick in the opposite direction of where the ghost trap is trying to pull you into. So it is a lot of tapping. Your hands will be tired, your wrists will be tired, your thumbs will be tired if you're seen multiple times and attacked by the Ghostbusters. It's one of those systems that feels hectic and really rewarding when you accomplish it, but it can be very tiresome very fast if you're a ghost player. Technically, I will say that the Ghostbusters from an online experience, from an internet connectivity experience, has been mostly stellar. I haven't had any disconnected games, no sluggishness or lag. There is the ability to crossplay, but I will say this, as a PlayStation 5 gamer who's playing this on the PlayStation 5, I found that playing against the PC players, if you're a ghost, is definitely a lot more worrisome than playing alongside fellow PlayStation players, as it seems like their trapping abilities and their tether abilities are a lot more effective when you're playing with PC than on consoles. It feels a lot more even if you're playing on a console and you're playing against other console gamers. Another big issue, of course, is the lack of level associated matchmaking. With quick play, you will be able to play with people online, but depending on what the scenario is, you may have people that are newbies, or you may have people that are veterans, or a new Ghost player taking on some veterans who have all the best equipment. I think the biggest flaw when it comes to this game, as of this time, is the lack of content. With only 5 maps, and a story that really only lasts about 15 minutes, with all the cutscenes spliced together across 5 acts that are only padded out as you complete 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and then the story does progress. There's not that much more content after you've reached a certain threshold of upgrading your abilities, your level, and of course your ghost. And while the general gameplay and basis of the game is very fun, I could see the repetitiveness and general lack of content becoming a sticking point for those who have experienced all 5 maps as best as possible, have played with all the ghosts, and have unlocked and equipped all the various forms and abilities when it comes to their gear. Though there is lacking content in terms of map variety and enemy variations and multiple ghosts, there are the side hustles or contracts or general challenges, as we know in most games, where you have to complete a certain task X amount of times, like sliming 10 Ghostbusters in one match. Now, some of these side hustles or contracts actually are weapon specific and will allow for you to get weapon upgrades. Others will allow for you to unlock certain cosmetic items that you can't by simply leveling up. And then there are the other ones that just give you overall profile experience points. So that definitely adds some extra play time to any gameplay session. And that's not including the daily challenge that always changes, of course, once a day, and the weekly challenge that is more arduous than any of the side hustles or contracts, mostly because of how big the goal is in terms of number. One of the biggest issues, though, when it comes to these challenges in the first couple of weeks after launch is the fact that they are glitched. Certain challenges may not count, certain challenges will not be completed. Even if you get the notification that you've completed one of the challenges, you may go to the menu to check it out, see what the third one is that you missed out of the 3, and come to find out the second one that they told you you've completed hasn't been shown as completed. So hopefully that will be fixed in the very near future, but that can be a very frustrating experience if you've been working hard on trying to complete something and of course it does not even count. Overall, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is actually a very fun asymmetrical multiplayer experience that definitely lacks in terms of the content department. Though the general gameplay is fantastic on both sides of the fence, beyond some minor issues that hopefully they can fix with further updates and balancing. My main concern about the longevity of this game is the lack of content. This may be one of those games that after a few weeks, especially with the holiday season coming up and a lot of big releases, it will be pushed to the side and potentially forgotten about if the developers IllFonic, who of course did the Friday the 13th and the Predator Hunting Grounds games, do not go out of their way to expand upon the content to give players a lot more than just the 5 maps and a few upgrades here and there, and maybe even some more ghosts. There's not a lot to keep people coming back for more, especially after they've maxed out everything and seen everything that this game already has to offer, which is something that you can pretty much see fairly quickly after playing just for a few hours. For $40, I think it's a great price. I say jump on it while you can because the community is strong. It didn't take me long at all to find any type of game. While it may not set the world on fire in terms of the genre, I think it's a solid experience. It's a rightly priced experience. And if you're interested in not only the genre and these type of games, but also a new Ghostbusters game, definitely pick it up now at a great price of $40. Or if you want to wait for a little while to see if they add some content, you can do that too, but just be mindful that the community may not be as strong, and of course, without a general matchmaking system to keep people that are evenly leveled in competition with each other, you may be overwhelmed no matter what side of the fence you're on. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again for another video game first impressions. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Now if you don't mind, I have to go back and try to haunt this building, this beautiful hotel that is made for slime. And if the Ghostbusters try to come around and stop me, they will have no choice but to say, "Oh, Lordy."